Colorado State at number 18, Colorado. And as you know by now, Coach Prime's Colorado is my favorite subject to talk about right here on the number one college football show for a number of reasons. I'm going to start with this one, which I don't think we get enough run on here, is Black folks has decided that that's our team. Like, we were showing out at the Nebraska game. I saw Wu-Tang Clan out there. You know what I'm saying? My God. I saw Cameron on the sidelines, right? Michael Irvin out there. Stephen A. out there. Shannon out there. Uncle Shay Shay himself. It is an event to go to a Colorado football game. And I don't know that that's ever been true. Like, we are all looking at Colorado going, yo, when did Hollywood just up and move? When did LA up and move to Boulder? And it is almost as soon as Coach Prime got there. And it is not because it's Coach Prime out there so much as Coach Prime winning football games out there. Look, they got dudes like we haven't seen them before. Now, I was way ahead on this because I like HBCU football. I was raised around it, for crying out loud. And I was following this Jackson State story from the jump, right? So when I made Shedeur Sanders one of my top Heisman candidates going into the offseason, people were asking, yo, are you high? Is something wrong with you, RJ? This dude played at Jackson State last year. Saying, I watch ball. I watch ball, you watch ball. If you watch ball, you would have seen it too. You would have seen a man who was going to throw for 900 plus yards in his first two games. By the way, there are only two programs in the sport who opened their seasons with back-to-back Power 5 opponents and went 2-0. One of them is Utah, who won the Pac-12 championship the last 2 years in a row and played in the Rose Bowl the last 2 years in a row. And the other one right there in Boulder, it goes by Colorado Buffaloes. I'm telling you, they hitting on something different out there in Boulder. And in the Rocky Mountain Showdown, I think it's the first time they're actually going to play this game in 4 years. They're going to get, I think, an opportunity to show out once again. Redshirt freshman quarterback Braden Fowler Nicolosi, is going to get the start over Clay Millen. I watched Clay Millen and Braden against Washington State. Neither one of them look great, but Braden looks great when he is throwing a rhythm coming out of Aledo, Texas. I really like him as a quarterback. I think Jay Norvell is going to have something cooking, just not necessarily against Colorado. I also shout out to Jay Norvell, who was once an OC at Oklahoma and who I got to know when I was an undergrad, always been kind to me. And I'm sure he is rooting for Colorado every week, but this one when they got to go play them. I'm also looking at what Colorado has done, right? And we all are throwing out all these statistics. You are seeing people that did not know where Colorado was or wouldn't have talked about Colorado before the season started, telling you how many snaps that Travis Hunter is playing, okay? Like, everybody's trying to get their piece now. And I need you to keep track of who was on this and who is interloping on this. We'll get to the bandwagoners here in just a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about what this turnaround means for Colorado and how cool it is. Like, I wrote a story that you can read on foxsports.com about what I thought were some great examples, and I mentioned them on Sunday, like Miami of Ohio going 1-11 2009 and then flipping around to win 10 games in 2010. My Oklahoma Sooners went 7-5 in 1999. And then they won the national championship in 2000. Tulane, 2-10 in 21, won 12 games, 22, beat USC in the Cotton Bowl to seal what was a magical season for them. And then nobody has been like Texas Christian, 5-7 in 2021, changed the staff, go into the portal, come out, 12 wins and playing for the national championship game in the national championship game just 10 months ago. But the thing that really bothers me about all of this is these are not the comparisons that many people are pulling out when they talk about Colorado. Matter of fact, they're only comparisons that people were pulling out in the last 2 weeks when talking about Colorado, because many people thought that Colorado was going to be this sport's Bishop Sycamore. Like, somehow Coach Prime was going to leave Jackson State to be Booty and Boo-Boo in Boulder. Look at you now. Look at you now. I'm telling you, I just wipe my nose with that stuff. But I need to talk about this in a very real way. Okay, because there are media types who doubted Colorado. Cool. All right, fine. Some of us, that's our job, right? Our job is to give you an opinion about who we think is good and why we think they're good. And then to give that supporting evidence, right? It's called a thesis, right? This is me coming through as a guy who was studying to get a PhD in English at Oklahoma State, but you're going to forgive the English professor and me for a second here, because I don't think you can have an opinion without great argument and facts to support your arguments. A lot of people in my job seem to think that that's the job. You just throw it out there and you don't back it up with any sort of data. But I'm going to come to you with some receipts here, right? The Athletic did a cool thing over the summer. They talked to Power 5 head coaches, assistants, and staffers about what they thought Coach Prime in Colorado were going to look like in May. So you'd seen some of the makeover already happen. You'd seen guys be asked, to leave, or even told that they're not going to get their scholarships renewed. And then they go into the portal and they get new guys, right? But I found some of these quotes were just ridiculous at the time, and they sound even more ridiculous now. Now, you can say ridiculous things anonymously, and that's what many of these people did, right? But still, they said them. And these aren't just people that are media types, right? All the people I'm about to quote for you work in the sport, are responsible for positivity and roster management in the sport, should know what it looks like when winning is on the table, right? Also, another way of saying you should really be asking these questions of the folks that run your favorite college football program. So there's a Pac-12 director of player personnel who questioned whether Colorado would even have enough warm bodies for scholarships at all. He said, my concern is the rapid hemorrhaging of personnel within specific position rooms. I'm sorry, what? Have you seen the depth that they have out there? Xavier Weaver at wide receiver, along with Travis Hunter, along with Jimmy Horn. Have you seen them go 3 deep at tailback without Alton McCaskill, right? Have you seen how those guys on the secondary get swapped in and out, how the defensive line gets swapped in and out? Seems like that question has been answered. I don't know where that's coming from, but they're talking about high volume personnel. Yeah, them dudes is in shape. Maybe you are unfamiliar with strength and conditioning coordinator Mo Sims' work, because he had them dudes all offseason and he gave them back hungry and raring to go. A Big 12 director player personnel believed the sheer number of players who left or were asked to leave was too high to expect Prime to succeed. My goodness. Check this quote out. It's just absolutely unreasonable to think you can sign 25 out of the spring transfer portal and make your team better unless they are players that were just bad, which I don't buy. In the end, is the sum of 25 new guys going to be greater than the sum of 25 old guys? Man, I don't know. Well, let's do the math right quick. He brought in 86 new players. More than 50 of them are transfers. But 22, right, grad transfers, and 14 of those 22 start on the offensive and defensive side of the balls. It feels like you can't do it. So since you can't do it, you're telling me that Prime can't do it. Man, if that is not just the kind of cockamamie boo-boo that I am so used to hearing. Look, another Power 5 director of football operations straight up questioned whether or not Prime could recruit without offering NIL money. Straight up saying he can't recruit. Can't recruit without a big pocketbook. The quote here, people can say what they want, but with NIL, for him to get legit dudes, he's got to have real money. No, that's patently false. Number one, he got a 5-star and the number 1 player in his class to come to Jackson State, which ain't got no money. Ain't got no money to spend. At one point in time, Prime's coming out of his own pocket to make sure those dudes got what they need. All right? He don't need no money to be good at coaching football, and he certainly doesn't need to offer money to get players to want to be coached by him. That's why Travis Hunter was there. He wanted to be like Prime. That's why he's there. Matter of fact, I thought this was one of the coolest quotes that I've heard Prime give, and he's given a lot of cool quotes when we talk about what people are capable of and why, right? And it was in recruiting Travis Hunter. You don't recruit the player. You find out what is special about him, what makes him him, and you recruit that. You recruit obsession. I'm obsessed with being very good, with being the best at being a national college football analyst. You can ask the crew about it. I am always on. I don't care about much more than this show right here, because somebody somewhere wants the job too. That is what drives Travis Hunter. That is what drives Prime. Also, Prime ain't interested in doing anything he ain't good at. It's a man who has played, the only man in human history played in the World Series and the Super Bowl, who said, hey, look, any sport where you can fail 70% of the time and make the Hall of Fame, that's a hard sport. He would say it himself. Look, when you get football, you get prime time. You get Neon Dion. When you get the baseball, you just get Dion. And I love that, because that is a man who is tremendously self-aware and knows what he is great at and what he is good at and chooses to be great. The thing about the Travis Hunter thing that really bothers me is on my show right here, Prime said when he was at Jackson State about Travis Hunter, and I'm going, are you going to let him go both ways? He said, first, Travis has to be dominant on one side of the ball. I got to see that he is dominant on one side of the ball. And by the end of the 2022 season, he had been sufficiently convinced that Hunter was dominant as a corner. He didn't play that many snaps at Jackson State as a wide receiver, only had 18 catches, right? Last year, if you're paying attention. Going into this year, he said, yeah, I think that dude is dominant as a cornerback, and he's allowed like 3 catches in 2 games, right? That he could be dominant as a wide receiver, and he's doing that just now because when they're on 3rd and longs, guess who Shedeur Sanders is looking for? It's Travis Hunter, right? We keep going down the line here. What I find to be most appalling of all the quotes that The Athletic got in their excellent reporting, a Power 5 coach stopped short of calling Prime's approach foolhardy, but then insinuated that Prime's success might ruin the sport. Maybe he's on to something, the quote starts. Then again, I'm not sure it would be good for college football. Because if Deion is on to something, it'll be bad for other kids on other rosters because then a lot of other people will try and copy it. Let's purge the entire roster and start over. You mean like Texas Christian, who went 5-7 and was bad? Got a chance to go into the portal, get guys like Johnny Hodges, Imani Bailey, Josh Newton, all dudes who are playing for them right now, Jared Wiley? You mean like USC, who went 4-8, got a new head coach, brought in a great quarterback who won the Heisman, Caleb Williams, won 11 games their first year? You mean like that? You're telling me that what Prime is doing at Colorado is going to ruin the sport because he's doing something that you can't? Hey, man, that sounds like you got a problem with yourself that you need to go talk to somebody about, but that ain't Prime's problem. That ain't Colorado's problem. That ain't college football's problem. The rules are the rules. And that he is playing within them and beating y'all up, that's something you got to work out. Maybe you need to go and talk to somebody about that. Maybe you need to be on your knees a little bit more, right? Go to church, figure out what's good in your life, right? Go consult your Bible. But you don't need to be talking about how Prime is ruining the sport. If anything, people care more about college football this year than they have in years past because the last 2 years, you know what I heard the most of? Hey, RJ, why do I need to care about a sport where Georgia's just going to sun everybody? Hey, RJ, why do I need to care about a sport where all I need to know is that my dude went to Alabama or he didn't for my NFL team? Now I got folks that deign to come off their NFL Sunday perches to talk about my sport and what I care about and what I was raised to love. And then I got people that are actually responsible for the well-being of players telling me that somehow Prime in his excellence is going to ruin what they, man, get out of here. I'm telling you, right? This is a really interesting time. Really interesting time. I'm going to bring it back here, but follow me here. Walter Isaacson wrote this biography of Elon Musk, you know, SpaceX, Tesla, Twitter. And I found this quote to be very telling because Walter Isaacson basically writes huge biographies about geniuses, right? Benjamin Franklin, Steve Jobs. I got them all on my shelf because I'm that type, right? The quote is, the question for a biography is to show how the demons of a person are totally connected to the drive that gets their rockets to orbit. People who are driven by demons get stuff done. Now, I am such a person, so I recognize it when other people have it. Work ethic does not come from want to and effort. Work ethic comes from needing to survive. I recognize someone who has this notion that if they do not reach where they are going, that they will not survive. And when I see that in a player, when I see that in a coach, I bet on them because I bet on myself. All right. The reason that I got here is because a number of people saw that in me too. Right. I'm in an efficiency apartment where my bathroom and my bedroom are in the same place. And I'm making videos on the YouTubes for the peoples because I needed this to work. I had to chase it. This is what I have decided my life is about. Why the hell would you doubt somebody who was willing to risk all to get what they need? Not what they want, what they need. Prime needs Colorado to be great, and those players need to be great at Colorado. This bravado, this flash, this confidence, it is not unearned, and that is your folly. When you go play against that sort of a team, that's what you need to bring. You need to bring the notion that no, there is not anything that this person will not try to do to win. So if it comes down to them suffering or me suffering, I better be worrying about suffering more and less about what the hell it is they're doing. I'm really excited to see how this translates to Colorado State this weekend and then later to Oregon and USC. But right now, go ahead, take stock, understand what's going on at Colorado is different, acknowledge that it is different, and let's ride the wave, right? Because I'm not going to put a ceiling on this. 7.5 wins, 8 wins, I don't give a damn. My job is to tell the story, to tell you why it's working, why it wasn't working, and what you should expect. Anybody that's putting a cap on what Prime and Colorado are doing has an agenda of their own. I, for one, am excited and all in on watching how this story unfolds. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.